Going to your point about intersex, a couple of points here, a couple of things you said that I think aren't true. The first is you said, how many intersex people?
There's currently, the United States clarifies in their census that there is 5.6 million Americans, which is double the amount of trans adults in the United States.
So what is going on here? Well, this is Matt Walsh, if you are not aware. And he's going to go off on this college student about how this individual is just wrong about the trans issue. That is transgenders and not a real biological condition. There's a lot of really interesting things and good things to say here, so I want to make sure I got it onto my channel. Now, if you don't know who Matt Walsh is, he's a hardcore conservative pundit, and you might think that I'm like Matt Walsh light. I'm not Matt Walsh light. People in my comments have said I'm like a ripoff Ben Shapiro or a generic Ben Shapiro or something. I don't know. Yeah, I would disagree with these people on some pretty key factors that would make us from a different social political perspective. Anyway, that being said, for all those out there who are questioning where I'm coming from, I disagree with woke ideology. If it could be divorced from politics, I would still disagree with woke ideology because it's stupid. Anyway, before we get into this video, thank you all for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed because YouTube doesn't subscribe people every single day. You can find me on Rumble, on Twitter, BitChute. There are some links down in the description. To all the Don't Talk Over the Video warriors, a link to this full clip will be available down in the comments. Now let's get into this video.
I'm going to preface my question by stating that there's currently 5.6 million intersex Americans, which are people who are biologically not considered female or male because they have incorrect chromosomes during their process of being born. So my question is, why do you personally not support gender-affirming care when a majority of those who are seeking gender-affirming care are intersex individuals, considering that there are double the amount of intersex people that are Americans and adults than there are trans people? And why are you fueling the rights ideology of this trans panic when considering that this healthcare that isn't even really for trans people, they just happen to use it, is more for other issues? And by doing so, you're limiting people who are suffering to get those actual treatments that they need.
Okay, so let's just go through a couple points here. First of all, you're saying that the so-called gender-affirming care is not for trans people. So just for the sake of argument, what if I said, okay, I agree with everything you said, gender-affirming care should be available for intersex people, but not trans. Can we agree on that then?
Yeah, I would agree, but the laws that you're supporting don't. That's why I'm asking the question.
That's actually not accurate.
The laws that he's supporting don't. Well, then change the laws. And that's basically what he's going to say here, as I recall. He's going to say, tag on a little extra verbiage there that says, for a medical problem, it's perfectly viable to use these treatments.
Have you looked at the legislation?
Yeah, can I respond to you really quick?
Well, let me finish asking my question. What specific law would prevent someone with a genetic anomaly or a deformity from seeking some kind of medical care or plastic surgery?
So currently, one of the ways to fix intersex issues that you find down the line, which is currently typically infertility, for men, erectile dysfunction. When you figure it out when you're about a teenager, you have to start doing hormone therapy and hormone blockers, both of which are banned under multiple, including the one that I'm specifically referencing, and it's the Kentucky proposed state law, would make sure that intersex individuals would not have access to those, as it's considered under the umbrella of gender-affirming care, because technically it is affirming their gender, as they don't have a strictly male or female genitals or a reproductive system.
Okay. I have to confess, I'm skeptical of your reading of the Kentucky law. I have not read the exact language of that law myself, so I can't say for sure that you're wrong about that. What I do know is that, what I can speak to is the Tennessee law, for example, where I'm from, which bans these procedures, castration, mutilation, specifically mentions that if someone has an actual valid medical issue, then obviously they don't apply. It's the same thing as, we should ban cosmetic double mastectomies for gender confused women. Obviously, if you have breast cancer, you need a double mastectomy, then you would not be forbidden from getting that. It's very easy to write that language into the law.
Yeah, the issue is, though, people are trying to push and say that the trans issue is a medical issue. It is physiological in nature. gender dysphoria is not just the way you think. You're born that way, and there's nothing else we can do about it other than change you physically.
Now, that's the first thing. Going to your point about intersex, a couple of points here, a couple of things you said that I think aren't true. The first is you said, how many intersex people?
There's currently, the United States clarifies in their census that there is 5.6 million Americans, which is double the amount of trans adults in the United States.
5.6 million. Do you know how, for that figure, to arrive at that figure, do you know how intersex is defined?
Yes, intersex is defined as either having a chromosomal, here I actually have the exact definition pulled up on my phone from the US Census, because I wanted to make sure. It includes people with an extra or missing sex-linked chromosome, those born with other physical variations that don't fit into the categories of male or female. This is seen as someone who has breast, but also has a penis.
Yeah. The issue is that the caveat that...
Yeah, it's pretty vague wording there, actually. And he's going to talk about that. I've seen this brought up before, and I'll address it here when he's done talking.
About other physical variations. So one thing that you should be aware of is that the actual number of intersex people has been, over the years, drastically inflated. And one thing that they've done is they've included, for example, a male who has an abnormally small penis size, for example, can be included as intersex under current definitions of the term. So what they're doing is they're taking people to sort of inflate the number of intersex people. They're taking people who their biological sex is very clear, but there might be some variances in their body, and then they're saying, well, that's intersex too. And I think the reason that they're doing that is, well, it kind of goes right to this conversation now, that the existence of intersex people is judged as very convenient for trans people in the LGBT movement. It's why they've included intersex in the pride flag, even though by your own accounting, intersex has nothing to do with gay pride, trans, got nothing to do with it. It is a genetic anomaly, it is a physical deformity, it's a defect, it's a disease, whatever words you want to use.
Yeah, so I've heard this talking point before that the intersex numbers are inflated because people were saying there for a minute that there's nearly as many intersex people in the world as there are redheaded people in the world, and that's just, I mean, you wouldn't go around pointing to redheaded people and saying there's some sort of weird anomaly. No, this is just like the way people are. So from other sources, I've seen this, that the intersex numbers are inflated, and what constitutes what he said here, like having an incredibly small penis, they might count you as intersex. What constitutes a normal sized penis? Is 13 inches the normal? So everybody who is significantly smaller than that, female, So you can play with language any way you want to, in a lot of different ways that you want to. But yeah, I'm not surprised the number of intersex people is inflated. We don't know the exact number, and we can never know the exact number down to the individual because we can't count people. There's just too many people to keep track of all of the people at any one given time, because how many people have died since I started this video? Thousands, probably, right? How many people were born since I started this video? Again, thousands. There's no way we can keep up with those numbers. So we don't know for sure exactly what the percentage of the population is. We're taking an estimated guess, a very good guess, by the way, because we can just count the number of people that we know, and then the number of people that we know that are intersex, and then do the math that way. And we know of a lot of people. We know that there are billions of people. We're not off by like a billion people, right? We know that there's billions of people. We might be off by a few million, but we're not off by a billion. So to think that there's like 1.7% of the population is intersex, that's just ridiculous. How many intersex people do you know? I've known thousands of people in my lifetime. Thousands! And I don't think a single one of them has ever, and I know, nobody's ever come to me and said, I'm intersex, I'm chimeric, that's me, I'm a hermaphrodite. Nobody's ever, and I know that's their personal business, and I probably have come across at least one or two people who have had this condition, one or the other of these conditions. But the fact that I have not known that I know anybody tells me that this is exceedingly rare. And the real numbers are, I think, more like I want to say 0.3, but I can't remember off the top of my head what the more exacting numbers were on the number of intersex people in the world. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
That's what it is. It's got nothing to do with any of that. So there is a concerted effort to inflate those numbers because they find them useful. Last point, it's not that intersex people are not their own sex. Okay, you said that they wouldn't count as male or female. That's not correct.
I do want to make a point about this. Just real quick, colloquially, we might say that they're their own sex. Like you and me talking, like, oh yeah, there's like 4 sexes. There's like male, female, trans, and intersex. Just for ease of your neighborhood communication, right? Not for technical terms. I mean, obviously, technically, no. There's just 2. Yeah, there's male and female.
There are only males and females in the human species. There is no third sex. No biologist worth his salt would recognize any third human sex. It can't be defined, it can't be named. An intersex individual is a man or a woman whose biological sex, for this small minority of people, is harder to determine because of genetic anomalies that may affect, for example, their sex organs. But they're still male or female. Okay, there are only male or female gametes, ova or sperm. That's all that there are. There are no other options. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, can I ask a follow-up question really quick then?
Sure.
So,
Someone said no, but I'm going to say yes.
Okay. So, you said that it's either male or female. It's just harder in determining what it is. But in this time frame, would you say that there is technically a fluid system of what could be considered male and what could be considered female, such as with real-life examples, people who do have breasts that look like female breasts, but they do have a penis? Would you say that that is a man?
There's a very good system for determining if there's a male or female, and it's right almost every time. I mean, it's right 99.9% of the time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to sit here and split these hairs on these anomalous individuals when we can just test their genetics today. We can just do that.
It's only for a small minority of genetic anomalies that there's any kind of issue at all. Now, you just gave the example of someone with breasts and a penis. Well, again, you're taking a hypothetical person. I would need an actual individual, and depending on how they look, that shows how deep we sort of have to go to figure out what their actual biological sex is. But, I will say that a male who develops breasts is obviously still a male. The last point I'll make about this is that another way of looking at it, there's no third sex, right? And the way that we know that is because there is no category of person who has the reproductive capacities of both male and female. So you either have the reproductive capacity of male or you have it of female, or you're supposed to have the reproductive capacities of a male, but you don't because of a disease, or female, but you don't because of a disease. A third sex category, I suppose, would be someone who has both reproductive capacities. If you were to find somebody like that, well, now you have identified a true third sex individual, someone who does not fall under the category of either male or female. That sort of human being has never existed on the planet, and never will exist and can't exist, because there are only males and females. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and rightfully he receives clapter. I will push back on what he said there. Not really a pushback, but give an alternate view of that. As a third sex, we could see we both impregnate the female, but there's this other. How would that even work if you think about it? Because I've told you this idea long ago, doing role-playing games, coming up with my own alien species, because I would play a lot of open role-playing systems, thinking like, okay, so I could have like a person who wasn't male or female. How would that work? So let's say they both impregnate the female, but then what comes out? Well, one is one and one is the other. But how is that different from being just 2 different types of male? Because you're both impregnating and you're just getting one or the other out. So, okay, well then we'll have 2 different types of females. But again, then they're both impregnated and you just get one or the other type of sex. One of the different 3 types of sex out. Okay, well, what the hell is the difference? What the hell is the difference? You have to have a completely different way of functioning, a completely different way of reproducing to have a different sex, have a different gender, because it is gender, as I've argued heavily to you guys out there in my audience. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense if you want to add on a third gender. It had to be like, oh, it had to be a completely different species, really, is what it would have to be, a completely different one. Or you just have to have like asexual who can impregnate themselves and then give birth to another person who can impregnate themselves. That would be it. That would be the agender other sex that we would have. I think that would be the easiest way to kind of imagine there's some other third gender out there. As all we ever see is male and female, and then slight variance on those 2, or a mixture of those 2. That's it. That's all we've ever seen. So shut up, because you're wrong. I do want to thank everybody again for stopping by and supporting my work. Now, here we have a cat that apparently thinks it can use magic.